I mean, we've been talking about these folks for a while because this is a really critical strike. I mean, this has been 1,100 people since April 1st, I believe, on strike. This is people who don't have the abilities to, you don't have money in the bank. You're relying on the community. You're relying on support to maintain your standard of living, all while being faced with just brutal strike breaking tactics. They've been showing up with scabs have been showing up and running through the picket line. There are allegations that these people, the scabs, have been polluting the waters in the community. I mean, really horrific stuff. Anyways, the fearlessness and the drive has not gone away. And these are the folks showing up in Manhattan earlier this week, protesting outside of the financial firm. So this is outside of State Street Global Advisors, who has a 11% stake in Wire Coal. I also believe they were out front of BlackRock and a few other organizations, and just really bringing the fight to the people who profit off of their suffering and off of their exploitation in a way that I really love, because I think one of the advantages that financial capital has, like historically, even to the boss, is its ability to disappear into just numbers and paper, right?
Oh, totally.
Versus being somebody in your community who like, oh, this guy has a nice car, blah, blah. Like, this is some guy who lives in New Jersey. He doesn't want to pay New York taxes, right?
Yeah.
Profiting like crazy off of, hurting people in Alabama. I think bringing the fight to them is critical. And the image is beautiful too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make them uncomfortable, and it's like, and they need that. They deserve to be made uncomfortable and to at least face. I'm sure some of them probably don't even care still. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like money over everything. But there's a few of them that are looking at that, and it sticks in their mind. And like you said, the imagery is powerful. And man, these people are courageous, man, to come up from Alabama to I don't know how they're staying in New York, because all over that area it's expensive. They're taking a chance but for the greater good, and not only fighting for themselves, but the future workers and stuff.
I love that too. Yeah, just like the broad view of it. And I also like, I have to say, I think that it's important to take these fights into the streets of Manhattan, because it's one of those things when you walk through that part of New York, you're walking through it and, I mean, it's super populated. It's obviously a different vibe than a lot of other places, but at a certain point you're just like, oh, I'm in New York. I'm in like the big city. And you forget that's like all around you are just people who are just doing blood deals, right?
Just vampires. Yeah.
And, and life is just nice, right? They walk out, they get a hot dog from, some guy whose country that they supported a coup against or whatnot, right? And bringing that fight to them, I think, is really critical.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the architecture of this sort of place, right? And that's something that just disgusted me since I've moved to New York. And you see like homeless people sleeping on the streets, and you have these massive, just vampiric citadels with these giant entryways that just like advertise, look at all this empty space we don't need to do fuck all with. We can buy some like extremely expensive art from some scam artist who like just sells to lobbies like ours, and right, like and it's just like it is like that thing you said, David, is so key about like whether it's capitalists or whether it's like the British Empire, like controlling shit from afar using like, let's put some telegrams in, let's do all this stuff, being able to like travel back to their homes, and two, use this infrastructure now, which again, like we know this internet was created to spy on people, but to use it to point it at like these actual like these sorts of buildings, like they should be seen as just like the
citadels of entrenched capital and power.
Exactly.
They're like fortresses, man. I remember like my first dealings with New York, when me and my boys used to come up and we would try to like get into like major labels and stuff without knowing anything. And we realized they're like for real legit fortresses or radio stations. You cannot get into them. You got to go from the lobby. They're not going to let you upstairs. And I remember us trying to sneak into these things. And then, years later, I've gotten a few meetings and everything. And the waste that happens in these buildings. It's like these people have these elaborate coffee machines and they have all this food and snacks. When you're in there, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And people on the street are like hustling for like nothing and are hungry. That's the ugliness of capitalism. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think a lot of people get to see it. And for the people working on the other side, the winners, so to speak, they're insulated from the outside in the same way. So it's like sometimes they can't even realize they're in their own echo chamber, their own bubble, and it's easy to dissociate yourself from the reality of what you're doing or the effects of what you're doing.
Yeah, like the amount of free stuff, because I've been in like and used to know someone in fashion, and like those sorts of, like, it's, first of all the shit that's just available for free up there, it's probably tax deducted anyway as a corporate expense. I remember going also into the NPR offices like early when I was first doing media and being amazed just that you could take books, like all these hardcovers that were just review copies, and like I can walk out of here with like $120 that I would have had to spend for these hardcover books, brand new, and you just get used to it. Like once you get to a certain point, you definitely like can, like, it's I forget what novel, Zadie Smith, I think, Swing Time, where it talks about just like you get into these industries and like you said, like it's disgusting the amount of just like free shit and like all these nice furniture that nobody ever sits in, and decoration, and it's and you know, amazing fabrics and stuff. It's bizarre, and they are citadels, and it's
I just wanted to hit this just because, you know, sometimes people come across these videos for the first time, very briefly, but like the story here is these miners, you know, have, you know, obviously been there for a very long time, but the company that owned the mine before was struggling extremely financially, after the financial crisis. And there was worries that the mine was going to close. So the workers all decided that they would accept a pay cut to make sure that this mine had longevity, right? That company ended up going bankrupt, and then it got bought out by a lot of Yankee capital, by a lot of like New York City financial firms. You know, they all own different stakes in it. And the mine became profitable to the tune of, I believe, millions of dollars. And now the workers are saying we want to get a fair and reasonable contract, like we sacrificed to allow this place to continue. And all of y'all now are telling us that, you know, we don't deserve to reap in any of the benefit that we sacrificed. And like, drop that shit for a second. The coal that we take out of the ground that you sell and you make all the damn money from, that you don't think that we deserve, you know, to get our fair share of that, is absolutely despicable. And it just is such a clear example of why financial capital, like these are obviously moral questions, right? You know, you can say, oh, that's immoral, right? But these are systemic problems, right? You know, it's like, these are what happens when you have a financial firm in there, and the only thing that they see is numbers coming in and numbers coming out, right? They're going to do everything they can to make sure that the number coming out is as low as possible, right? And we have to start thinking systemically and talking about these things like that. And that's why I love this action so much too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they get a convenient amnesia when it comes back to rolling things back to what it used to be. They're like, well, we came in, you guys were working fine with this amount. Like, forget about the past history. This is what we're doing, moving on. It's like, it's
move
very
forward
convenient for them.
Yeah, exactly.